Welcome to the MBU Football Coaches Show. I am Guy Danhoff, and I'm joined with Coach B. Coach, a very tough week last week as the Spartans had a great valiant effort, fell just a little short, 20-13 on the road in Joliet, Illinois, as you took on St. Francis. And I was just wondering if we could get a quick reaction to the game.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it came down to the wire. It was a game that both teams battled really hard, and as I look at them, film pretty evenly matched teams anyway. But quite a lot of frustration, to be honest with you. I think the guys feel the frustration. We do as well, because when you go back and watch the film and look at the mistakes that we made on both sides of the ball and on special teams, just little things here and there that really would have, I think, determined that game and should have put the game in our favor. But things we've got to get cleaned up, and we've got to be a lot more intense and focused on what our job is.
Well, when you look at it, I mean, you took the early lead. You had a 3-0 lead right away, and then you went up actually to 13-6 even on, I believe that was a demo, right?
Yep.
Darius Morrison had a 5-yard touchdown run.
Yeah.
And then, so you went into the halftime at 13-6. What did you tell your team at that point?
Well, at that time we were talking about that we got to finish.
Right.
That you're right where you want to be. You've got the lead. You've got 30 minutes to play, and defensively, we talked to them that be ready for the quarterback to run the ball, because that was a guy that they really wanted to get the ball in their hands, and he's kind of their go-to guy offensively, and just that we've got to tighten things up, do things better than what we were. I felt like defensively we were playing pretty well. Offensively, we were struggling getting things going. We were making plays at times, but I'll say this: give a lot of credit to St. Francis. Their defensive structure is very unique. It's some of the most unique that we see throughout the year. Mm-hmm. So it's very difficult to game plan and really have a set plan just the way they play. They do a really good job defensively and make it challenging on you. So, we knew offensively it was going to be a tough go, but ultimately at that point, I think when you look in hindsight, that we should have had a bigger lead at that time, not just the 13, because when we started with the ball in such great field position, we get a penalty, we start the ball at about the 12-yard line.
Right.
We can't come out of there with a field goal, and that ultimately makes the difference between winning and losing games. Is you got to be able to put touchdowns on the board, not always field goals.
Right. Well, then you get to the point at the 6:42 mark left in the third quarter. They tie the game. Now we're 13-13. What was going through your mind at that time?
Well, just the fact that we defensively, I felt like in the second half we were not sharp at all, and not really sure the answer behind it. There was a lot of things going on, not really anything that we didn't see. I just don't think we were very sharp and focused, and as we say to our guys all the time, we weren't neutral mindset at all in that second half. Not sure really where that started falling apart, but that falls on us as coaches to try and get fixed, and something we've talked a lot about here in this week's preparation.
Well, then you get into the fourth quarter. It was kind of a little back and forth, but like you said, the one thing they did do is, to my surprise, is they held the Spartans team rushing under 100 yards, which that's very difficult to do, because that is certainly the strength of the team. So when they do that, they're forcing you to do other things. But still, even at that time, we're still in positions that we could do something. But as you know, we get down to, in the fourth quarter, down that 6:50 mark, and we know what happened then. There was a fumble by Ronald Allen, as we saw on the replay. If you were watching the broadcast, we saw what it looked like he was actually down. I know these things happen. There is no replay at your level, so it is what it is. But then they hit a quick strike. They go up, and now you basically have got 6:50 left to try to get a score.
Yeah, and you mentioned the replay, and you go back and watch it on film, and there's no doubt it was a tough break that didn't go in our favor. I just, something that we've talked a lot about as a team is that we have to make our breaks. We can't put the ball in that situation. We can't put the ball on the ground in that situation at any time, really, and that's happened far too often here lately. And I've said for years and told the team for years that don't leave it up to a judgment call. Don't leave up. Make it very clear that you're not fumbling the ball, and the way you do that is you stand up and hand it to the official.
Right.
Now there's no question, and we didn't do that. And on the flip side, there's a couple things where defensively, yeah, we're not in a great position, but we have an opportunity to hold them to a field goal.
Right.
We don't do that, and you hit on it that we still had about 7 minutes to go to get points on the board, and so that's how a game goes, and I think ultimately what I told the team is that we want to win a championship, we want to have that elite focused mindset, but the reality is we're not there right now, and that falls on me, that falls on the staff, it falls on the leaders of this football team, and we just got to get back to who we are and get more focused and realize that there's going to be those tough games that come along. I think if you're on that elite, like true championship-minded team, that when you're in that situation, it's like, okay, no big deal. We're going to get a stop. We hold them to 3. Offense, don't worry about it. We got 6 minutes. We've got all of our timeouts, and we go and play ball. That really wasn't where we were at, and it's a process, I think, in getting that mentality shift and really what's expected. I think the guys are doing a good job. They're coming along, but that obviously on Saturday we weren't at our best.
Right. Now, one thing I do want to note, it was somewhere between the 4 to 5 minute mark left in the game. You on a 4th down, you opted for a 55-yard field goal while it was wide left. Yeah. The promising thing, though, had it connected, that thing would have gone to 65 yards at least. So, I know you hooked it left, but the point is that you've got a kicking weapon now where if you need to go 55 yards, you know that you have the ability of legitimately making it, because there was no win at that time of the game. And I want to get your thoughts on that, because earlier in the game, our kicker, O'Dane Reed, he had a hit from a 28-yarder and a 37-yarder, and he attempted a 55-yarder. Yes, I know it was wide left, but still, it would have had the distance to hit over 60.
Yeah, he's got a tremendously strong leg, and we're starting to see that more and more. And he's never really kicked a football until about a month ago, and he did it in practice, and we were just blown away. But he's got a tremendously strong leg. He's able to put the ball out of the end zone, something that we really haven't had the ability to do. And then, like you said, be able to go for it on 4th down and trust the fact that he could make it. The wind had died down at that time, and you mentioned that, but there was a pretty strong wind that we had decided that we wanted to have at our back going into the 4th quarter. It died down a little bit, but distance was not his issue. He gave it everything he got, and he just continues to get better. And even then, the mindset, my mindset there was in pregame, this guy had nailed them from 60. And let's give him a shot, because then it sets us up to go for the win, not the tie.
Exactly.
So my thought is hey, if he makes this field goal, now we kick off, we get a stop, now we have the ball to go win the game, rather than throw all of our chips in on on one more possession, punting it or going for it or something like that. So having that weapon really changes my mindset in those situations.
And really, the only reason why I'm making such a big deal about it is I don't think enough Spartan fans maybe realize, what are you thinking about a 55-yarder for at this level? Well, I can tell you, because I watched the pregame. I watched him when he was out here in our last home game. I was watching him hit 58 yards easily.
Yeah, well, I mean, we watched him yesterday kick about 8 balls, which, most kickers, that's going to wear their leg out. But he kicked about 8 kicks from the 50-yard line, which is a 60-yard field goal, and was right around 50% on those kicks.
Yeah.
So he's got a tremendous amount of leg. It's just, dialing in the accuracy. But he really works at it. He does a really good job, and he's got, like I said, just a tremendously strong leg. So that's going to give us a weapon, in situations where, obviously not all the time are we going to kick a 50-some-yard field goal. But, in end of game, end of half type situations, it definitely gives us the ability.
Well, and the other thing I do want to say is what a relief he is in, that he helps you with your kickoff team. Because these other teams are not getting return opportunities. And they had one of the best returners in the country, and he was 7 yards back, and it was still over his head.
Yeah, I mean, that is huge from a field position standpoint. allowing us to, not have to cover the kick
Right.
nearly as well, or even a couple years ago, where we did a postseason report and the starting field position was about the 37-yard line.
Right.
Well, now we're kicking out of the end zone. They start at the 25. That's
Right.
a big difference. And, another guy that should get a lot of credit for that is Gavin Claude, our punter, because you mentioned Scott Timmelty, who is the returner for
Right.
St. Francis,
Right.
and he was a honorable mention All-American returner last year, and I head up that All-American committee for our league, and I can tell you, he was one of our top vote getters in the league. Really should have been a first or second team
Right.
All-American guy, but with Gavin being able to create so much hang time on his punts,
Yep.
it allows us to get down there and cover those things a lot better as well. And that changes the game. It changes field position.
Well, I'll just say this, Coach. The kicking game that we have, both with the punter as well as with our field goal kickers now, it really is amazing the weapons we have to give this really a complete team. So I want to kind of cover a few highlights. Leaders in rushing, Ronald Allen. It's great to see him back on the field. He had 71 yards. Demo, again, whenever you put him in, he's always thinking touchdown. I mean, that's the way he looks. Yeah, that nice 5-yard run. And then, what more can we say about Tyler Ball? I mean, gamer. That's all I can say. This guy is a consistent week in, week out gamer, reminiscent of a number 12 that you used to have on your team, Isaiah King. 9 catches, 101 yards. What do you want to say about Tyler?
Well, he's doing a good job. We're still, I think he's still being molded a little bit. I would prefer him to be less of a gamer and more of a daily guy, to be
Sure.
honest with you. And he knows that's stuff that we've talked about, in that one of the ways that he's going to get to where he wants to be, which he wants to be the best wide receiver in the league, is to really focus and hone in on those details and the skills.
Right.
He's got tremendous athletic talent. You can't knock that. And like you said, he shows up and he makes big plays in a game. So, I think he's well on the way. It's just, where he wants to be, there's some things he's got to tighten up, but he's definitely an asset to have on our side.
Absolutely. And then also look on the defensive side, and the All-American Jalen Cowley led the team with 6 tackles. No surprise there. I mean, he led the tackles against Marion, double digits. I think he had 12 in that game. And, of course, we keep talking about this guy, and actually these two guys, Rayquan Ramsey. That guy is a disruptor. 5 tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble. What doesn't this guy do? So talk to us a little bit about Rayquan, because, again, we're talking about him almost every week on the Coaches Show.
Yeah, Ray's really in that similar position as Tyler is. He really, those are some guys that just really don't understand how good they can really be.
Right.
They are physically gifted, they're athletic, and just getting some of the details. Both of those guys are young guys. They've got a lot of football left ahead of them, thank goodness. Rayquan's just a little bit sophomore, and so he keeps getting better. But as we continue and he continues to buy into the process of putting in work every day,
right.
He can really do some special things. There's no doubt.
Well, then you got also Jeremiah Austin. We've been saying his name quite a bit lately. Again, he had 5 tackles, also 1 sack. And let's just talk about your front 7. For the most part, outside of quarterbacks taking off on draws, we really do have a stout run defense. As a matter of fact, our run defense is ranked 27th in the entire country in the NAIA against the run. So I was wondering maybe you can comment about that, as well as certainly Jeremiah.
Yeah, Jeremiah he keeps getting better as well.
Yeah.
He's been, I guess this is his 3rd year, 2nd really. So again, because of last year, he's got a lot of games under his belt, but he still has 2 years still ahead of him. So Rayquan and Jeremiah, they're 2 guys that are tough to stop. You have to really game plan for them, I think, if you're in opposition. Not to mention some of the guys that are inside that are doing a good job. Marcus Paddock and Anthony Graham are 2 really big, tough guys to move inside. And a guy who's really coming along is Gio Sainz, the freshman from O'Fallon. And he just continues to get better and better every day and works hard every day. And he's going to have a really bright future as well. So our front 7 they're really doing a good job. The linebackers, I think some of the changes that we've made schematically, allowing Jalen and some of these other guys to and Joe King to do a little more from the back end. But they're doing a really good job against the run, and it's going to be a tough chore this week, but something that if we've got to do if we're going to win this game.
Well, I'll tell you what's exciting. We can see the opposition's quarterback have to scramble a lot, because that's been happening a lot this season due to your front four. And sometimes you're not even getting pressure from the edge from JC or one of the linebackers. You just got your front four, your front four, being able to create that kind of pressure, and that is huge in terms of then being able to have better coverage.
Absolutely.
All right, Coach. So the only thing I really want to talk about to end this segment of this game is, one of the stats is, this is no surprise. I'm sure you probably have been talking about in your coaches meeting probably for 3 weeks. The disease of fumbleitis. The Spartans had 2 fumbles. You lost 2. The one I know, again, we looked at the replay at that 6:40 mark, but still, to your point, it was still called a fumble, and we lost 2 fumbles in that game. Against Marion, we had a fumble. We lost that fumble. And then in Madonna, we had 4 fumbles. We lost all 4. So that's basically, as I'm counting these up, that's 7 fumbles and 7 fumbles lost in the last 3 games, which to some degree certainly contributed to last week's loss. And as well, maybe if you could comment or also share with us what you've been doing this week to prepare for, hopefully, that we can see that or if you fumble, you're not going to lose it. But what's been going on this week to try to help that situation?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't think that there's been anything that different going on this week. I think the thing that we tell them all the time, especially going back to that Madonna game when we had 4 fumbles and we lost lost them, and is that we have to take better care of the ball. We do turnover drills. I know Coach Kern and the offense. Coach Kern does ball security drills literally every single day with the running backs. It's something that I think we've been working on a little bit more with Josh and some of the quarterbacks, because I know he's been responsible for a couple of them.
Right.
But, overall, in general, I think that it is what we've talked to the entire team about is you have to learn how to have success. You have to learn how to win football games. And obviously we started well. We started 3-0. I feel like we played Marion very well for the first half. A bad call on my part set up a unfortunate big play at the end of the half where you really kind of started to see the wheels fall off. I think that we go into halftime not giving up that big play. It's a totally different situation. But in general, I think our focus hasn't been what it was in the first 3 weeks, and I think that that's some to do with being young, being a group that hasn't had a tremendous amount of success. You have a lot of, when you're 3-0, you have a lot of people patting you on your back, and that feels good, and you want to enjoy that. But at the same token, it's one of the reasons why it's very hard for champions to repeat. And why I really look to guys like Nick Saban and Bill Belichick and Dabo Swinney and some of these guys who can repeat. Because that's really hard to do when you start buying into what other people are saying. So I think we have to get back to when we do turnover drills, as much as we emphasize it as a staff, that they're taking upon themselves to take it seriously and go in on that. And there's only so much we can do. We can call them out. We can continue to do it. But ultimately, they have to be able to take those drills seriously and then ultimately transfer them over to the games and have the same heightened awareness during a football game.
So with that, let's paint the picture moving forward. The Spartans are now 3-2. You are 0-1 in the conference. I believe your next 4 out of 5 games to finish the season will be conference games, or is it 5 out of 6? It's one of the two. But the challenge is you're going to be facing your next 3 opponents. This week's is going to be a team in Roosevelt that are receiving votes, and then you're going to have to play St. Xavier, who is 18th in the country, and then Olivet, 13th in the country, and then you'll have Trinity. But these next 3 weeks, is going to be, I was going to say a lot about the season, a lot about the Spartans, because to your point, you've said this on previous shows, this is the time for the program to elevate, for the team to elevate, because these are the types of games you've always said you want to be in and you want to play in.
Yeah, 100%. They're exactly what we want to be and what we want to play.
Right.
And thing I've talked to the guys about is, having one loss in the conference it may not matter. It may, who knows what this league's going to do.
Right.
Roosevelt's coming in with 2 consecutive forfeit losses due to COVID issues. You don't know what's going to happen. With other teams, what's going to happen with us. We just take it one day at a time. But this thing is anybody's game, and I think if we can handle our business and take 1 week at a time, there's every single game on our schedule is a game that we can win. It's a game that we know we can go in and compete and win.
Right.
But it's going to take, again, a heightened sense of being neutral and focused and attentive at what our job is Monday through Friday, and then again on Saturday. There's no time to take days off. There's no time to not be mentally present and focused on what we need to do if that's really what we want to do. And ultimately, that's the challenge that we've put in their hands, and something that we continue to emphasize and stress, and they have to then decide what it is they want to do and go and make it happen. And I know they're hungry. I know that they're frustrated with how they played last week, and are ready to get back on that winning train. And this week's another great opportunity to do it.
Well, with that, I have to ask the question though, because we know it's homecoming, and I'm sure there's a lot of excitement. I mean, just to see the Spartans with a 3-2 record, certainly we're taking on an opponent that we have the ability to beat. And have you said anything to the team? Because this whole week there's been so many cool things that MBU student activities and other groups have been putting on. So it's been awesome being on campus. So have you addressed your team about homecoming at all?
No, not really. I mean, it really doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't mean anything to us as a team. I kind of am of the belief of Coach Pelker, who I worked with at McKendree, who he always would say, homecoming's for the alumni, not for us. And, I truly believe that. That's the whole point of homecoming, is to invite back and bring back the alumni. And, we want to see as many alumni and fans in the stands on Saturday at 1 o'clock as we can. And, I think our job then is to go and put on a good performance for them and make them proud of not only their university, but the football team that we're building. And there's a number of the alumni that are coming back and are going to be here that were never attended MBU when they had football. So I think it's really important that we give them another reason to be proud of our school, and that's our goal and our focus. The extra activities that, I tell the guys all the time, those aren't really for you. Your job is to go out and put on a performance on Saturday.
Sure. So with that, well, Coach, here's your last question. Obviously, Roosevelt, they love running the ball. As I said earlier, we've got the number 27 defense against the rush. Obviously, our strength is the rush. Not to say we don't have a very good passing attack. We do, but obviously we lead with the run. So what are you kind of expecting for the Saturday?
Well, defensively, we've got to stop the run. This is an old school Big Ten, 3 clouds and 3 yards in a cloud of dust type game. And I go back, I told the guys earlier, Coach Barnett, when we would play these type of games, he would tell you, hey, this is one of those Advil games, because, you're going to leave there and you're going to know you were in a football game, and you got to strap your chin strap tight, bite down on your mouthpiece, and be ready to go. And truthfully, that's true on both sides of the ball. They're a very aggressive and physical, have a lot of size on their team. So it's going to be a really good matchup. I like the game plan that we have on both sides of the ball, and we've got to go out and execute it, and ultimately, as you mentioned, stop the run. And then offensively, we've got to be able to move the ball and keep their offense off the field. That'll help the defense. I think when you play teams like this, what they're banking on is that they're going to get enough plays to wear you down over the course of 60 minutes.
Right.
And the more our offense can stay on the field, the more our offense can chew up the clock and chew up yards. That's going to weigh in our favor, and we'll see what happens in the end.
Well, I'll tell you what, I know it's going to be exciting. I love these kind of games. I love when you're going to just be, we call it back in my day, belly to belly, just smash mouth, right? Especially when you have 2 teams who can run really well. We have a really good offensive line. They've got a great offensive line as well. So it's going to be a fun day. We're going to be kicking things off right at 1 o'clock here at Spartan Field, and we hope that you can join us. Coach, I want to thank you for joining us again on your show. I know we were off last week. I wasn't feeling the greatest, as you know, so we took a week off, but I'm so glad to be back in action, and we want to thank you for watching right here on the Spartan Digital Network.